Hello and welcome to The Hop, a podcast designed to help business owners and marketers navigate the ever-changing landscape of digital marketing and marketing in general. I'm your host, Matt Taylor Farrington, and the business owner of Purple Bunny Marketing. And today I'm joined by Kira. Hi. She came back. We didn't scare her off.
No.
And we've actually got some questions from people regarding radio.
Brilliant.
Apparently we've been talking too much jargon.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
So we've had some people ask, first of all, what's a BMAD?
Right.
What's a 15?
Yeah.
And what's a 30? And we're not talking about your age.
Thanks.
Kira's been 30 for a while.
Absolutely.
So what are they? What's a BMAD?
Okay, so BMAD is a shortening for breakfast, morning, afternoon drive.
And then you've got E for evening, which didn't get asked, but BMADE.
100%.
Yes.
So BMAD is a industry term, so apologies to everybody for using industry jargon, but that's the language that we use.
It's the lingo, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just easier than trying to turn around and say breakfast, morning, afternoon drive.
Correct.
60
Evening.
times a day.
Correct.
But that's what it stands for, and on different stations it's different timings.
Yes.
So for our station on River, it's 6 a.m. till 6 p.m.
Yes.
So it's generally your prime time slots.
When majority of the traffic's there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So 15s and 30s, they're your commercial time duration.
Yes.
So you've got a 15 second, 30 second, you can have 45 seconds, even 60 seconds. So it's, it's all in a muchness, but 15s and 30s, or 15 seconds and 30 seconds is what we generally talk about a majority of the time.
And that's because they're probably the higher impact ones, because they're obviously cheaper to do versus like a 45 or a 60.
Yeah.
And you can bundle them up.
Well, realistically, a 45 and a 60 is more when you're trying to tell a bigger story. So,
or maybe a live read. Or
live reads tend to be
60s or 45s.
Yes, sometimes it's 30s and 60s.
Yep.
But when there's a great example of a brilliant commercial that was done for the Australian War Memorial.
Yep.
And they talked about a story, and there was actually an excerpt from a letter that you can actually read at the War Memorial in Canberra. And it was this beautiful letter written by a soldier on the front.
Yes.
And executed brilliantly, and it still gives me goosebumps. And they had to use it, a 60-second length commercial.
To be able to do that.
Exactly. And then it was, at the end it's to find out more stories, come to the Australian War Memorial.
Yes.
And it was just brilliant, perfect execution.
Yeah, awesome. So hopefully we've covered up the lingo. You understand now when you watch back or listen back to the podcast what we're talking about. But that's what that means. A question I thought we'd throw in there.
Yeah.
A post-times report, because obviously I do talk to business owners regarding radio advertising and stuff like that, and understanding you obviously get a schedule of what you book for the time placements, but a post-times report, you may have another term internally, but post-times report is there to kind of give you what time your commercial actually aired.
Yes. Yeah.
And why should business owners be getting and checking that report?
Well, I talk to business owners and say, hey, do you want to see your post-times report? Some people are like, not worried about it. I heard
don't have the time.
Yeah. Not concerned. I've
heard my commercial.
So I'm satisfied. But there are other business owners that need it for reporting reasons.
Yes.
So then they've got to, send that up to, for example, a brand.
Yes.
They sell a brand.
Maybe a franchisee
or something like that. So they've got to send that information out or to another person.
Correct.
All a post-times report does is tells you exactly when the commercial played, on what day.
Yes.
You get information about, the specific key number.
Yes.
So that's, we're using lingo.
Key number, yes.
So key number is the unique identifier associated with that particular piece of commercial.
Yes.
It's ABC 123A.
Yes.
Played in breakfast and, so on and so forth. At this time.
Yep.
Exactly. And then it tells you, if you've got a mixture of a 30 and a 15 second campaign, then it tells you which duration played. Yep. So in terms of why that's really great for a business owner is if you book a BMAD, breakfast, morning, afternoon drive spot, and it can be placed at a random time throughout that time period of 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. on River, you can go back through and go, oh, I got a breakfast spot. And yet on that day it played once in breakfast and once in the afternoon, and I saw it again in the morning. Yes. So you get that information afterwards, and then you have some validity around how many people could potentially be
listening to your commercial.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%. I think another thing to be for business owners, I guess, is it's a good way for them if they feel like something isn't working, they've got a report that can kind of show them. And if they, like any marketing, we make our best assessments based on what we understand of the data and what we're looking at, and we place things at certain times. But if you're placing a commercial, say, during breakfast constantly, and then you say, I'm not really getting the result I want, and then you look at what time of placement it is, you might say to radio, okay, let's mix it up. I actually think it needs to be in morning or afternoon or drive. And it just helps you to kind of assess where things are landing and kind of look at the bigger picture about what's going on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Obviously, you don't need to reference it every month like clockwork.
No.
But, doing a check-in here and there just to go, okay, cool, yeah, all my commercials are landing at this time or whatever it might be, just to give yourself a bit of an idea, especially if you aren't tuning in to listen, although you should be tuning in every night for night, then, it just kind of gives you, I guess, that reassurance that, okay, cool, my commercials landed these times.
Yeah. Well, the other good thing is if you turned around to, if you go, I'm not hearing my commercials, is it actually on? Yes. You can actually ask for a pre-times report.
Of when it's scheduled.
Of when it's scheduled to air, and then you can, it's accurate within about 5 minutes.
Yes.
You can actually go, oh, okay, I need to make sure that I'm specifically listening in that 8 o'clock hour.
To see if it, and listen out for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and it's good because then, you can get your team to listen and your staff, and then all of a sudden everybody feels really good about that advertising as well.
Yeah, 100%. Agreed. All right. So changing, but back to questions from our audience. Voice talents. So how important is it to pick the right voice talent to voice a commercial? I'm laughing because we've been there. And should business owners voice their own commercial? And I think we have talked about this lightly before, but yeah.
Ever so slightly we've touched on it.
So your thoughts?
Okay, so voice talent, the whole creative process is extremely important.
100%.
But if you're thinking about your business, you need to think about the fact that this is an on-air representation of your business.
Correct.
It's no different than having a TV commercial or anything like that, or social media. How
logo,
it sounds,
colours.
Exactly. It's all extremely important.
Correct.
Because how that is seen, heard, felt is how your potential audience is going to engage with you.
Yes.
So if they go, if you're painting the picture that you're this gentle, wonderful business that's, really relaxing to come into, and then they walk in and it's, death metal and punk rock and like rah, all over the place.
Yes.
Clearly, you're painting the wrong picture, and you're probably going to
sold me the wrong message.
And you're probably inviting completely the wrong audience into your business. So, voice talent is extremely important.
Yes.
Talking to your account manager or your marketing expert, your creative person like yourself, Matt, being able to get a sample of the voices.
Yes.
Is great, because if you're sitting there going, I want some, I'm looking for a woman, I want her to sound, gentle, but sort of that little bit older, but not in that retirement age feeling. We're sort of looking somewhere in the region of 30 to 45.
Yes.
Because that's our potential audience. That's who we're looking to have voice our commercial.
Yes.
Then you can turn around and get a selection of those particular people. Yep. And then go, actually, you know what? I really like Belinda. She sounds like that's the type of voice that I want for our commercial.
And not only that, it then creates consistency in what you hear on air.
Yes.
Because once you get that voice talent, you should stick with that voice talent.
Absolutely.
Because you've created an identity, so stick with it. But people will start to remember the voice and connect that voice.
That's right.
That's why, we use ambassadors. We have a client that we both work with for radio commercials, and we utilise their ambassadors for those commercials.
Yeah.
And that's created linkage not only between the visual elements that they have where the talent appear, but then you're hearing their voice constantly representing their brand on
100%.
air.
Yeah, and CPAP actually uses the same thing.
Yes.
You see any of their TV commercials, radio commercials, visual billboards, etc. It's all Merv Hughes.
Yes.
He is Mr. CPAP.
Yes.
So all of a sudden you're creating that connection by that ambassador. That's why it's a great use of ambassadors and 100%. Voice talent.
Yes.
So why not utilise it? And like we said before, utilising an influencer.
Yep, correct.
Somebody like that. Yes, you're going to pay for it, but you're promoting your business through the use of that particular person.
Yeah, and you're creating a unique identity for you from a voice perspective.
Yeah, 100%. Now, on the second part of that question about voice talent by your business owner. Okay, so I'm not against it. There are some people that go, it doesn't really work. I think it's a horses for courses situation. Mm-hmm. So for some people, they're really great at talking, they're very relaxed, and it works well for their business. But if you're a business owner that's going, you know what, in the next 5 years I'm looking
to retire,
sell the business, what you're effectively doing is you're connecting yourself with that business.
100%.
So you can't sell yourself with the business.
Correct.
So create an identity for the business that's separate to you.
Yep.
That's something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't even have to voice the whole commercial. You can turn around and go, hey, I'm such and such from such and such, and come and see me.
Yes.
And the rest of it is a professional voice talent.
100%, yeah.
So there's many ways to cut it.
Yeah, agreed. And I think, look, I'm like you. I think there's times where the business owner is important and relevant to be in the commercial, and I think there's times where it's not. I think business owners also need to think about, though, long term. Mm-hmm. So like you said, depending on their position of where they're at, not only that, do you have the time to be ducking out of your business to go stand in a studio and record those commercials, or have someone come record them, whatever the case may be? And are you prepared to commit to that?
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen every month if you want to change a commercial, or, however frequently you're changing those things, you've got to be available to do them. So it's not just thinking about how it sounds as well, but it's also then the impact that has to you as well as the business owner. Are you busy? Are you got the time to do it as well?
Yeah, so. And we do have a couple of business owners that come in and voice their commercials with us, and it's difficult to get them out of their business.
Yeah, and not only that, you're then standing in a studio and your mind is thinking of the business and what you need to be doing, and are you then delivering the message the best you could be, you know, all those sorts of things. So, it's like you said, horses for courses. You got to think about it. What's best for me? What works for my solution?
Yeah.
And there's other ways that you can do brand identifiers. We've talked about them before, like sonic sounds and all the different things, and we've talked about the Frank Walkers, hello, and the different ones like that. So there's all sorts of different ways that you can create an identifier in a commercial and still have you in it somehow without you needing to be there every 2 minutes to record a commercial.
Exactly.
So, all right. And final question before we get Nick telling us to wrap up, because apparently we talk too much when Kira and I get together. So in terms of creative execution and cut through, and to cut through the noise, what makes a radio ad stand out and capture listeners? So this was actually a question that got posed to us.
Ooh, awesome.
Yes.
Okay, so like we just said about voice talent, creative is really, really important.
Yeah.
I think the number one thing is be brave.
Yes.
Don't just go, I just want a commercial that says where we are and who we are and all the rest of it. It's be a little bit brave with your creative, because if I've got some really far out there clients who are really brave with their business, who just go, you know what, let's go crazy. Let's push the envelope. Let's toe the line. I'm like, Cool. Let's go.
Like a marketing agency that called themselves Purple Bunny.
Yeah. Lends us after so many things.
Yes. Look, I think you gotta also understand the audience that you're talking to as well, and at the time of day. But I think from an execution standpoint, let's say we're doing the main time. So we're during traffic, breakfast and drive, and that's the main traffic times that are happening. Everyone's got the driving in the car, sitting in traffic, honking the horn at someone who's just cut them off, flipping them off, and then you come on with a really funny commercial that makes them laugh, makes them smile, and they're going to remember that. So I think you've got to think about who is the audience, who am I talking to, and I always lend myself. I think commercials stand out if they've got a slight bit of tongue-in-cheek or irreverent humour or something like that, where kind of gets people's attention, because it's that water cooler conversation that we talk about, commercial, where you want to get people's attention, you want to get them talking about it, maybe slightly cringe, but hey, it's funny, people laugh, people remember it, and that's the main thing when it comes to radio.
Well, we were actually talking about this off air, about the fact that even what a industry person, somebody who's been in the game for, not myself, but somebody else who's been in the game for 30 plus years, who goes, oh my God, that's such a bad commercial. Yeah. Even a bad commercial can be stand out because 100%. It sounds bad.
Correct. So, I mean, look at Frank Walker, and now we just accept it and we all reference it. We talked about it how many times in this podcast, never mind any others.
Exactly.
But right at the start, everyone was so annoyed by that commercial, and but it got your attention, and I can think of so many others. I always bring up the RACQ charter boat.
Oh my God, I love that ad. I love it.
Cringe and so stupid, but funny.
But it became part of our
lingo. We walked around saying it. Yeah. Charter boat? What charter boat?
Well, do you remember the Yellow Pages ad?
Yes.
Not Happy Jan!
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So it's those sorts of things that...
Yes.
That's why I say be a bit brave with your radio creation.
Yes.
Because, you can...
Or engage someone creative.
Yeah.
Don't be scared to get someone to go, hey, here's my brand. Here's what I want to talk about. Have fun. Come to me with something. And they may come to you with something that's 1,000% outrageous and you bring it down to 100%.
Yeah.
But get some ideas. Get something that's thought-provoking. Get something that's going to kind of get you thinking and kind of challenge that status quo. Not just do the same commercial that we all do, because it'll just blend. It will blend with everything.
It really does. And look, things like, I've got a client that started a story a really long time ago, and they just keep referencing. They create new references every year to this one particular inanimate character for their business, and all of a sudden it's created its own story. I remember another client who actually created almost like a mini drama series, like Days of Our Lives, on air.
Yep.
And people turned around and went, oh my God, I can't wait to listen to the next one. What's going to happen to such and such?
Yes.
Because all of a sudden now people are invested in that particular story. So, there are so many ways to do it. From creating this a sound that makes people go, oh, I know that particular business.
Brand. Yep.
We talk about it all the time. McDonald's and Toyota. They've created their own sound, which makes you go, I know who that is.
Correct.
But no matter what you choose to do, no matter which way you choose to go creatively, do the same thing, be invested, go for the long run. Because if you don't go for the long run, you've already, all that work you've done with your brand to create where you are today, you're going to literally say goodbye to all of that work and all of that time to start brand new.
Yes.
And you can do some slight tweaks and get yourself to a new direction.
Yes.
But, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Correct. And
just go, oh, we're going in a whole new direction because I had this moment where I had a thought. It's like,
correct.
Don't do that because
you still got to keep it on brand.
Yeah.
And you've still got to remember your brand identity. But I don't know, what can I say? Embrace the cringe.
Yeah, 100%.
Enjoy it. I guess it would be my take on that. So, yeah. All right. How'd we go, Nick? Did we do it in a shorter time? We're getting told to actually wrap it up. On that note, thank you for tuning into The Hop. Thanks to Kira for coming in.
Thanks.
So stay tuned to hear and see more from us at The Hop, helping you to get your marketing hopping.